Let's get
Hey,
it,
man, another episode of Two Brothers, Same Mother. Of course, it's Sheik. We got AJ here. You hear him laughing.
What's up? What's up?
I'm in a foul mood, man. I'm in a foul mood. Yeah. I shouldn't be. Listen, here's my thing. Like, there's a lot of good stuff happening. Philly. Flyers made a lot of decent moves. Phillies are on a winning streak and about to play the Dodgers. They're at first place. You got, the Sixers who are trying to make moves, possibly get, Dame Lillard. And football season's about to start. You wouldn't know it by reading or watching anything. You read or watch sports talk, and it's like, oh, Julie Ertz's toes are so much more prettier than Zach Ertz's toes. What the fuck is that? What the hell, man? 10 reasons why Deshaun Watson should be your quarterback. And 20 reasons why Jalen Hurts should never be allowed to drive on 995.
Right.
10 reasons why the Eagles remind me of the West Wing. The fuck? So, apparently...
But we are here to save the day. We are here to save the...
Yes.
We are here to save
I apologize. I'm going to be Grumpy McGee for a little bit. It'll take me a minute to get out of this. I was just mad because I normally like to do some research at the end of the week, read up on several things, and there was literally 0 articles about what happens in Phillies camps for the past week with the Eagles that were objective. Like, hey, such and such caught a ball, such and such dropped the ball. There's none of that stuff. It was, there was a 2-page article about how they're doing hazing of Jack Driscoll. How did the practice go? Hell if I know. I do know that Lane Johnson apparently does not like cheese on his burger. That's what the article is about. So AJ seems to know a lot more than me, so I'm going to let him go with this stuff. But I do want to start with one thing. I want to start with this. And that's that the one person, regardless of all the bull crap that I've gone through, that I have not heard one negative thing about, is Darius Slay. So I'm going to start here because from what I understand, the defense has been phenomenal in practice. They're picking up on a lot of schemes. And I'm going to focus, I feel, past couple, we spent a lot of time talking about Jalen Hurts and the offense, and rightfully so. We're excited about it. I think it's going to be more defensive slanted for this, show. But do you think this might be a Darius Slay breakout type season where they're talking about he might be one of the best corners in the league again?
I think so. And from what I've been listening to, and then, like I said, some of the let me rephrase that. Some of the practices they show on YouTube and the drills and everything like that. This defense looks crazy. It's like there was a point, like, all right, I want to sound negative real quick about the offense. Yesterday, based off everything.
Saturday. So we'll probably airing this like on Tuesday, yeah. So, Saturday's practice.
Yeah, Saturday was yesterday, yes. Yeah. Saturday's practice. The offense had its worst day in camp. Jalen Hurts had his worst day.
40 years. It was so awful. People were puking everywhere. They wanted to relocate the Eagles. Sorry.
But it wasn't purely, and I'm not going to sound like I did with Wentz, it wasn't purely solely on Hurts. It was there was a lot of drops, stuff like that. But
a lot of drops, a lot of issues with separation. Receivers weren't getting
separation. They literally came out in a cover two. Cover two, for those you don't know, a base cover two. What people don't understand, if you're not sure what a cover two means 2 high safeties, 2 safeties in the back end. It means to cover 2. You're able to cover the 2 outside, double team the 2 outside receivers. Cover 2. All of a sudden, during the pre-snap, they shifted and went to a press man base 3-4. And completely, and then rushed, and then dropped back Hargraves, and even though Hargraves was shifted over to a defensive tackle spot, defensive end spot from the nose guard, from a defensive tackle spot, and Derek Barnett dropped back, and then all of a sudden he dropped back into coverage, and Barnett came rushing off the edge, and it happened right during pre-snap. So, that type of stuff excites me, because we didn't have that with Schwartz. Schwartz was like,
the creativity of defense wasn't there at all.
Yes. No, not at all. It was literally like, oh yeah, well we're just gonna rush for, and then all of a sudden you blitz a guy that fucking did the white snake shit, and you blitz him off the edge, and then somebody was off the open.
I don't know
This
why.
is why I don't blitz. Like,
I thought you were saying that they blitzed John Cena. That's what I thought you were doing.
I was doing white snake. Everybody's favorite Eagle, Nate Gary. Thank God he's gone. But
I'm gonna get you a jersey, the Nate Gary jersey.
Oh hell yeah! Wipe my ball sweat on.
Every time you walk in the room, we'll play White Snake.
Right. Here's the thing. I mean,
my question was specifically about Slay, though. So I want to get back to that. Like, because Slay is helping out a lot of these receivers. With Devontae Smith going down, he's now, been working on various receivers and stuff. But it said he's been having a phenomenal camp. Like,
no. And what I was saying is because of everything I just said, and with that makeup, it's going to help somebody like Slay, who's already good, and it's going to push him back into the upper echelon. That's where I was going with that.
But how?
Because of all the concepts. If you know that a guy is just told to drop straight back, you're going to tell him to do this in a base defense, in a very vanilla defense that we ran last year. But if you have all these concepts and everything going on, it allows him, that quarterback isn't able to focus on him.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because he's worried about all the shift and movement and where's this guy coming from, where that guy. He's more concerned with what's going on in front of him than what's going on the outside, which helps a corner. Like, so, and it's going to help Steven Nelson. And that also helps too, that he actually has another solid corner. Nobody's saying Steven Nelson's a Pro Bowler or a super playmaker, but he's a solid number two. He actually has a solid number two outside of there. Everybody is in the right positions now, barring any injury. Knock on wood.
Right. Now, with that being said, and I want to talk about the different schemes because this defense, and I use the term loosely, their base looks like it's still going to be a 4-3, 4 lineman, 3 linebacker base. Now, as we know in the NFL, anyone who pays attention, offenses, normal base now is like 3 wide receivers, it seems like, or at least 2 wide receivers at the tight end split out. So a lot of times you don't have 3 linebackers on the field. You have 2 linebackers.
And you have 2 linebackers and 3 safeties.
Or yeah, right. Or you have 3 corners, whatever. With us, it seems like we do a lot more safeties, where safety hybrid linebacker type dude, like you were talking about with some of the people that could Jacoby Stevens and some of those guys that could do that. But one of the big things that people are raving about is apparently they're running a lot of, forget what they called it. You might be able to know the specific term, but basically 5-men fronts.
Yeah. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
It's not like a 5-2, but it's like
we used to call it like almost like a monster.
Yeah, well, that's what I knew it as too, but they called it something else. I forget. But
the crazy thing is it's like I said, they will show you different things in pre-snap. They may come up with a 5-man front and looking like a single linebacker, and it looks like they got 5 and everybody else is secondary. Next thing you know, 3 dudes is dropping back off the line at the snap of the ball, and here comes that safety 15 yards off, screaming up the A gap. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Well, the one thing that they mentioned too was even with that 5 lineman front, that was interesting was you always talk about it. Our line seems to be a huge strength, offensive and defensive, for the most part. Defensive line in particular, you have Hargraves is having a great camp. Fletcher Cox is being Fletcher Cox. BG's being BJ. And then you have Derek Barnett, who you're getting, at least according to camp, some of the best that you got at Barnett since he's been here. And Josh Sweat is consistently just going up the way he needs to. So to have...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. Derek Barnett is having his best camp since he's been an Eagle, right? Most consistent camp since he's been an Eagle. He's stronger. He's faster. He's more aggressive. And yet Josh Sweat is even more faster, even more like Josh Sweat on this whole team right now is the best pure pass rusher we have on the field right now.
Well, that's the thing. So to get all of them essentially, for argument's sake, one-on-one with a lineman, they're looking at it as from what I've been hearing, obviously not from what I've been reading, because I told you there's nothing out there to read,
Right.
but that someone is going to get destroyed, whether it's the person Cox is on or Graham's on or Sweat's on, not to mention that there seems to be kind of not necessarily a toss-up, but as you know, Kerrigan got hurt. They're being ginger with him. He's not going to be out for a long time.
Right.
But supposedly Jannard Avery's been looking great too in that same position that Kerrigan would be playing, as far as being that rushing up man.
Right.
The whole point is that it looks like this is lining up to be one of those defenses that is going to pressure people hard, confuse people. And basically, I feel like we're going to go back to being a ball hawking type of defense.
Mm-hmm. They literally have a thing where they get points. It is mandatory for them to, every time they make a tackle, to swipe and rip at the ball. They get points. I forget what Sirianni called it, but it's like punches, either punch at the ball. They are making it mandatory to show these guys how to peanut punch when they tackle.
Right.
It's not like, hey, if you can try to do it. No, it's, yo, do that again. You didn't peanut punch. You also say, hey, yo, you didn't rip at the ball. What are you doing? And it's not for sake of, because we've seen it. I've seen it from youth league, high school, college, where guys get so focused on just trying to rip ball, not trying to get the tackle.
I was just about to ask about that. Glad you brought that up.
No, it's almost like it's a fluid movement at this point. You know what I'm saying? You break down, you get your arm wrap. The dude ain't go nowhere. So if you got the tackle or you got help right there, you better be ripping and punching at that ball. You get what I'm saying? And that's the thing. I think it's going to be a very opportunistic defense. And I'll give you prime example. You used it. You just named some people. And you're like, wait a minute, Kerrigan can play 4-3, but it's more 3-4. They converted Jannard Avery from an outside linebacker, or from a defensive end to an outside linebacker, but he would be more suited for a 3-4. But yet you got Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat, who are 4-3 defensive ends, right? And Fletcher Cox, and Javon Hargraves. But then you got Milton Williamson. And then you got your boy that that they re-signed, the defensive tackle that you really like,
Hassan Ridgeway.
Hassan Ridgeway.
Not to mention the giant refrigerator that you drafted from USC.
Yeah, and so you got all these things, and then you're going to have. So there's going to be times, like I said, a quarterback is going to come to the line of scrimmage, and just like happened with Jalen Hurts and Derek Barnett, who a lot of people don't realize or forget, that in Tennessee, he was an edge rusher in a 3-4 defense.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? He wasn't an outside linebacker, he was an edge rusher. So you got Derek Barnett and Brandon Graham, and then all of a sudden they shift, boom. And you got Milton Williamson and Fletcher Cox is defensive tackles, right? Now all of a sudden they shift, boom. Shift people means they're going to move to the left or right, and they may line up in gaps. Next thing you know, it's a 3-man front. Derek Barnett kicks back. That Jacoby Stevens drops back from linebacker to safety, and then that other linebacker moves up. And then all of a sudden, boom! Now all of a sudden you're doing your cadence. Blah blah blah. 52 is a mic. 52 is a mic, and then they're shifting, and then you're like, oh shit. Because now they just completely shifted formations.
And that's the other thing that you brought up different people. Milton Williams, Jacoby Stevens, Hassan Ridgeway. That's the first time I can remember where it seems like you have your defensive coordinator in Jonathan Gannon. You have Nick Sirianni that, although it's, lack of a better term, is like a baseball bullpen. Baseball bullpens work best when everybody knows their role. This person's a closer. This person's a setup man. This person. But it also helps when they can do multiple positions too. Oh, he could be a closer, but he could also be a setup man. He could also be a long guy. I feel like with the Eagles, it's the first time that I feel like all 53 players that make this roster are going to have a role. It's not going to be like he's just there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
it's a physical camp, man. It's been, and I know people are hearing about the injuries. I want to be clear. The injuries that happened with Sayamalu, the injuries that happened with Brandon Brooks, the injury that happened to Kerrigan, as you brought up, if this was regular season, they would be playing.
Right.
The only one that would kind of be out and not out for 3 weeks, he may have been missed a game because of this, is Devonta Smith.
So,
which is
speaking
big,
of
anyway.
Devonta Smith, and I kind of do want to switch a little bit to the offense. The defense is having a tremendous camp. They seem to be doing
the offense is starting to struggle.
Which, you know what? The defense is having a tremendous camp. The offense can also be superb if they're doing competitive ones against ones. Someone has to be worse than the other.
Right.
Now, Saturday, it said there was a lot of just questionable things, but as you brought up, it's because the defense said, we want to unleash the beast. And the offense was like, whoa, what the hell am I supposed to do here? And you got a lot of young offensive linemen, young quarterback, young receivers. You know, the veterans, Greg Ward, and he's like, what, 26? 25? Yeah. You know? Right. So with that being said, I don't want to focus so much on that one practice. What I do want to focus on is that it seems like Hurts is continuously working on everything that the coaching staff is telling him to do. With that being said, like especially with QBs, because they're talking about footwork and they're talking about release points and things like that, do you think that they might be telling him a little too much? Or is this one of those things where, no, now's the time to try to build those fundamentals because you can only focus on a couple of things once the season starts?
I just, first of all, it was gradually, as the week went on, got worse and worse. I want to chalk it up as for Saturday's practice as just a bad day at the office. That's what I want to chalk it up as for the offense.
Right.
And here's the thing: you and I have both said they're going to be competitive, blah 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 blah, and I still think they are. I think this defense is going to be a top 10 defense. With that being said, if this is a top 10 defense overall, and I don't mean 10, I'm thinking this team could be 7th or 8th overall defense.
Remember last year, the Eagles were what, like 12th in defense, I think?
No.
They were a top 15.
They were top 15, but it was because they were like, I think they were like number 3 in sacks. And then I think they were like in the top 10 against the run, but they were like in the bottom 25 teams against the pass. They were really bad against the pass. And I think with this team, but to go kind of what you're saying, I get what you're saying now, is that with the addition of Steven Nelson, and it seems like their secondary is a lot better and they're deeper, right, than they were last year. Yeah, I think this could be a overall like a 7th ranked team, like, you know, maybe 3 or 4 against the run, or and if you're 8 or 9 against the pass. Now, if that's the type of defense you're putting out on there, I expect this young group to struggle. I expect if you're not going to see a top 10 defense every week,
right?
You get what I'm saying? And when you're so once again, I've said it since training camp starts. This is our 3rd. We did a pre-one. We did last week and this week, right? So since we started really focusing in on this coming season, right? What's been the motto? Iron sharpens iron at this. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that, you know, this offense, everybody's panicking about this offense. I don't give a fuck how this offense looks at practice. I really don't care how this offense looks during preseason. I care how it looks week 1 of the NFL regular season, week 1 through 17. That's what I care about. Because, and people were like, oh man, how could you not care? Blah, 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 blah. Steve Spurrier, looked fantastic when he was with the Washington Redskins.
But you brought up Sam Bradford was a great example too.
Right.
You know,
Sam Bradford was 7 for 7. Yo, people forget that 0-16 Detroit Lion team went undefeated during the preseason.
Ray Rhodes' 3-13. Eagles went undefeated too in the preseason. So
you get what I'm saying? Steve Spurrier, like I said, was blowing teams out by 30 points, and they went undefeated and they finished 3-13. So stop. Everybody's putting all this stuff in. It's like it's just, man, it's like the panic button. It's like, Jesus God, it's practice. Listen, if me and you play, right? If me and you are doing something, and I've seen you every day do something, the first couple of days, because remember, outside the first day of practice, remember everybody, because this is what practice number 10 today, Sunday, tonight, live. So practices 2 through 8, everybody was raving how Jalen Hurts is really improving, right? Da 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 da. If you're doing that well against something, but I'm playing you in something, no matter what it is, every day like that for an hour and a half every day, after a while, I'm going to catch up with you and get your tendencies. Vice versa, same thing with you, with me. That's just anybody.
So let me ask you, just looking ahead, and then I'm going to look a little bit further ahead and then kind of bring it back to something more current, because we do have a game to look at coming up.
Thursday, right?
Yes. So with that being said, do you think when they have their joint practices against the Patriots and the Jets, that those practices we might put more value into as opposed to what's happening now? Or is that dangerous to even think about that because it's practice?
No, because it's still practice, because you're still not going to show anything really.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're not. It's very vanilla. Actually, they're going to be more vanilla than the regular practices, because they're not going to try to have. They're not going to show like some of their exotic. Like they're working on some of their exotic blitzes against. You know what I mean? Against each other. But when they practice against the Patriots, they're going to be running just like they will in a preseason. They're going to be running their base plays.
Dive left, dive right.
You know what I mean?
I want to go back to that real quick. Just one last thing about the offense. And I just want to bring that up because I wanted to say that, like,
after you say this, I want to say one more thing about the offense as well.
Because what you're talking about with what's happened, people are getting accustomed to seeing each other in practice. Then you think, well, you're practicing against new teams, so you should be a lot better. And I wanted to get that point across, was that, well, they're going to literally probably run the same 10 plays because they don't want to show anybody anything. But I was going to bring up, do you think that we might start seeing the return of the, I don't say fullback, but that we might see some spots with the fullbacks? I know they've been talking about the tight end from Nebraska that they really like. I can't think of his name on top of my head, but he's been lining up in some fullback positions when they run goal line too.
I don't think fullback, maybe in the goal line.
Yeah, I mean, not full time. He's going to be a tight end.
Yeah. I can see that, or maybe like almost like an H-back.
Right. That's what I mean.
Like an H-back. Yeah.
I'm kind of excited though to see some smash mouth though. You know what I mean? First to go from the 2, and you see. Oh, wait. You got 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
And you got somebody in front of Miles Sanders. Okay.
These motherfuckers lined up in the wing eye.
Right. What the hell is that? Wait. But go ahead. What were you going to
say? But there's 2 things. I'm sorry. An update on the left tackle competition. I just want it to be known, based on what I've heard and what I've seen. Literally the only reason that Andre Diller's getting reps at this point is because he was a number 1 pick. That's Jordan Mailata's, unless he falls off a cliff. That's just a massacre happening right now.
And what I've heard too is that it's not like Andre Diller has looked awful. That's not what it is at all. It's just Mailata's looked really
looked that good. Yeah, he's looked that good.
If they had to start with Dillard, although he would be on the lower end of starters of a left tackle, they could do it. But Mailata looks like he might be on the verge of, if you remember, there was a tackle that played for the Steelers. I think he just signed with the Ravens, Villanueva.
Yeah, we had him playing defense. Good job,
Chip Kelly. But it looks like he's about to have that kind of surge of.
Probably even more. Probably even big because he's a bigger dude.
Right.
So with that, so I just want to get everybody just listening to this or watching this. Jordan Mailata is going to be your left tackle, and it's awesome because I didn't realize he was only 23.
Yeah, he's super young.
Yeah, what? So anyway,
remember when we drafted him, he barely knew American football.
He never picked up American football, but
right. He just knew grab ball, hit person.
Yeah, he was a rugby guy. And the second thing I wanted to bring up about the offense is if we joked around and called him carry your own Johnson, he's getting ready to carry his own bags about that thing because Jordan Howard is making this team unless he gets hurt. And Boston Scott is balling.
I've heard Boston Scott. They're trying to create plays for Boston Scott at this point.
Yo, Boston Scott. But the thing is as good as Boston Scott has looked, Jordan Howard has looked. Yo, even though it's not going to happen, but Jordan Howard's kind of almost pushing Miles, who is. See, now I'm going on another tangent. Sorry. Who has been suffering from the drops?
Big time.
Big time. He's looked good with just pure running the ball. And picking up blitzes and stuff like that, but as far as a pass receiver, he's not looked very good.
I did hear one of the few times I've listened to the radio and I actually heard Eagles stuff about the Eagles. Was Brian Westbrook was talking about that he thinks the issue is that they almost have Miles Sanders training too much, and what he meant was when you have a guy that's really, really, really wants to make it work, and you have him so much on the jug machines, and you have him so much on doing these drills, that he almost forgets how to naturally do it. And that's what's happening is that almost like he has the yips. So,
well, yeah, it's from what I'm hearing is that after practice, he's still running these routes with Hurts. But they said on the jug machines, him and Boston Scott were on a jug machine, and there's just a natural smoothness with catching, right? How it hits your hand. So it was doing that. It looks more natural with Boston Scott, where it's almost like forced with Miles Sanders. So he has to get out of that funk, whatever it is going on, because he could catch the ball his rookie year, and all of a sudden you just don't forget how to catch the ball.
But the thought was too was that he's so concerned about fumbling. Not saying he's scared, but he knows he had an issue with securing the ball.
Well, he's
taking too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had fumbling issues. Well, he hasn't had he's fumbled a couple times during this camp. Yesterday, he fumbled. They say it was after the whistle, but he still fumbled. But it's just because once again, I think this defense, man, is going to be special. I think it's going to be fun to watch. But so if right now they're also talking about oh my God, Huntley. There's a chance they may carry 5 running backs, not for Huntley to run the ball, but for Huntley to be a returner. So, but right now, if the season started today, your running backs would be Sanders, Howard, Boston Scott, and Gainwell.
Speaking of which, I saw something on watching the Eagles practice where messing around, they made Darius Slay return a couple punts.
Right, just messing around. Yeah, right.
But also it was like, yo, if we ever get in a pinch, we might,
Right. Well, I heard Miles Sanders, not Miles. Boston Scott's been working a lot with the special teams as well.
Yeah, Boston Scott and Gainwell have been the two kind of main guys, it seems like. So 2 more quick points. One, you got James Washington in Pittsburgh, who we play on Thursday. Disappointing 2nd-round pick, at least for Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh always seems to grab a receiver and find something, especially with what they have now with the receiver out of Ohio State that burnt us all crazy last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just becoming a star. Claypool.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants out.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about bringing him in? And I actually saw something here. I'm actually looking through, a few things where, I read an article that the receivers coach seems to have taken a special interest in J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Not so much that they think he's going to be a huge part of the offense, but like almost a dude what happened, and let's go back to what you did well in college and just build your confidence back up. I think there's a possibility of swapping disappointing second-round picks. Steelers are done with Washington. We're kind of done with JJ, or do you think they'll need more?
Nah, I ain't doing nothing with that receiver core.
You don't want to add anybody to the Eagles receiver core to it.
We need to stop this microwave bullshit. Like, no, I don't. Because here's the thing. You have to see what the fuck you got. And that's what this season is about. Period. It's not about, if you have a chance to make the playoffs, why not? Okay, yeah, let's do it with this team that we got. You get what I'm saying? Like, it was obvious, it was obvious that we needed a second corner. Like, that was just, you get what I'm saying? That was different, so I agree with that. But, you got all these receivers on this team. See what we got. I'm not saying mulligan this year, but let's see what the fuck, you got so much youth on this team. Let's go. You go in, and then in 2022, you're going to have fucking over 80 mil in the fucking cap. You got all these goddamn draft picks. Then you build on that. Okay, see what young guys you're going to fucking keep, run with them, and then build the veterans around them, and then let's make that run.
Well, I get the impression, and I bring this up just because I don't see it happening, not because James Washington is a bad receiver or anything like that, but I get the impression that Nick Sirianni is a big locker room guy. Mm-hmm. And to bring in somebody who's disgruntled, as you mentioned, into a wide receiver group that has Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward, Quez Watkins, Hightower, J.J. Arthur-Whiteside. You also have two tight ends that are vacuums when it comes to throwing the ball out there. Why bring a disgruntled guy in who might get 20 catches a year? Either that or he's bumping one of your guys that's a first-year player or a rookie.
Or you get what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying Travis Fulgham is Jerry Rice, but you're not the league's leading receiver for a fucking month because you're a flash in the pan. Nobody's saying he could be the best receiver in the league, but he could be a solid receiver. You put a solid receiver against somebody who's supposed to be a trendsetter like Devontae Smith, and then you have somebody in the slot like a Reagor and a Greg Ward, or you get what I'm saying, and then you line up. Even if you line up in a bigger like 4 wide receivers, and then you add a Quez Watkins out there, then you got to see what you got. You drafted all these motherfuckers. See what you got. Stop. This is how we got into the. And I'm not saying with the salary cap overall. But this is how we got in trouble now. Because we tried to microwave it. Prime example. I'll give you example, and I don't care. My guys at work, they probably gonna get mad at me, whatever. Okay. Last year when the Ravens won a playoff game, right? Do you know when the last time they won a playoff game before then was?
I don't.
2014. They had one play. They won the Super Bowl in 2012. Last year was 2020. Going into last year's season, they had one playoff win. Why? Because they kept, let's add, instead of doing a youth movement. Then they finally did the youth movement. They had a couple struggles, a couple years, right? And then last year they took that next step. That's how you build. You get what I'm saying? You stop with this microwave bullshit. I don't want to win. I don't want to go add a veteran receiver, get rid of a 3rd round pick that we drastically fucking need, especially now that Carson Wentz is going to make us have a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick for a receiver, or maybe that 2nd round pick for a veteran receiver, for us to go 11-6 next year, get bumped out the 2nd round of the fucking playoffs, and then everybody retires and rolls out because we were too busy trying to get all these old dudes and these veteran dudes in here. Let's get these young boys in here, make them the solid nucleus, and then you can add some veterans next year. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's my thing.
I get what you're saying, but just to bring it home, though, Washington was a 2018 draft pick, so he's not old. He'd probably cost the Eagles a 6th or 7th round pick. That's not the point you're making, though. The point you're making is you have 6 receivers here, plus a bunch of tight ends who are looking, not to mention Richard Rodgers is a pass catching tight end as well. Why bring in a 10th person to catch the football when you're trying to involve Miles Sanders as well, who was not mentioned in any of those 9, to try to catch the ball, not to mention Boston Scott, not to mention you just drafted Gainwell. Like, why do that?
Yes. And it's not a right way. Like you said, we invested all this time in drafting these dudes and bringing these dudes in here last year, and then this year drafting them like with Fogle. We didn't draft him. We traded for him.
And I didn't include Fogle in my receiver rant. So there you go.
Right. So bringing all these dudes in here, go.
You know why? Because you're going to have to trade half of them to bring in Deshaun Watson. We're not going to go there. One more thing I wanted to bring up, though.
Philly chicks don't delete your Instagram.
How about Doug Peterson being a visitor at Bears camp, but wearing all Bears gear with a notebook? Like, coaching. If the Bears end up like doing something, okay, and I picture almost like a Juan Castillo. Remember the last time the Ravens won the Super Bowl, Juan Castillo magically got hired as an assistant during the playoff run. You know what I mean?
Right. He got fired from us and then joined them.
But he got fired from us, but didn't join them until like the playoffs. Like, it was crazy.
Right.
Doug Peterson ended up coaching for the Bears sometime not head coach, but ends up being like an advisor or something, you think, before the season's out?
I think he was there to try to get some plays from Nick Foles. Hey, Nick, help your coach out. I'm trying. What plays do I need to take in for when I start?
You want to run Chi-Town?
Right. Chi-Town. Yeah.
It's funny because the picture I'm looking at, he's wearing all Bears gear, but it looks like he's wearing like a turtleneck. First and foremost, it's Chicago, but still, it's got to be hot as balls for you to be wearing.
Oh, yeah.
But the turtleneck looks like it has the Eagles logo. It's not the Eagles logo, but it looks like it from afar. It's like, whoa, what are you doing?
He might be an advisor. I can see.
Yeah, and they're good friends with Nagy. But my only thing is that Nagy, they got to be on their way out. I can't see them keeping their job after this. You know what I mean? Talk about a franchise.
Well, I think he might have saved his job a little bit. Well, saved his job last because they made the playoffs. So
that don't mean anything. You made the playoffs as the 7th seed. You would have been in the playoffs the year before. I think at the end of this year.
No. What I meant was he saved his job for
just
last
for one more year. Yeah.
They definitely with the drafting of Justin Fields and all that stuff. They definitely.
So what should we be looking for Thursday against the Steelers when it comes to the Eagles? Because first and foremost, I guess the number one thing is who's going to play. I don't want to put Jalen Hurts back there if you could have all 5 of your starting offensive linemen playing. But if you have...
Now, Jalen needs that work.
He does, but let's say for argument's sake, Salamalu sit in and Kelsey sit in and Brooks is sitting.
Well, the only one... Kelsey's been playing. I mean, he's been practicing. The only two that's been sitting is your 2 guards.
Yeah, there's been talks that some veterans might only get a series, and that's it.
Well, I mean, give them like a series or 2 in the first preseason game.
Yeah. I mean, that's my thing. Like, if you get Jalen Hurts 2 series, maybe even 3, that's fine. But I would look at
look at the rookies. I would like that. And then there's one dude that I would like to look at. I keep hearing he's probably not going to make the roster, but he's a guy that the Eagles shouldn't lose. Tyree Jackson.
Tyree Jackson, yes.
Yeah, the 6'9" tight end. I hear he is turning some heads. You know what I mean? So
I really want to see, and hopefully he gets a considerable amount of burn. When I say that, I see him for a few series. That's the linebacker, man. Damian Taylor.
He's out. He hurt. He's hurt.
Oh, he's hurt? I didn't hear that.
He's hurt. Yeah, he hurt. Something with his quad or something. He hurt.
Oh, jeez.
To the point to where he may miss the preseason.
That's not good.
Yeah. And they were saying he was, and it's a sad story because he was having such a really good camp. He was having a really good camp. Yeah, he's hurt.
But that's the thing. Like, so that was the one guy. I mean, I guess I want to see kind of what Milton Williams is doing too. You know what I mean? How he's
not Sean Bradley.
My thing is that I mean, I'm curious to see how Sean Bradley and Kayvon Wallace do.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Davion Taylor's rookie year was such a wild. Like Sean Bradley did what I expected a 7th round pick to do.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Kayvon Wallace, I want to see more out of him because he struggled. But I'm more excited. I feel Davion Taylor could be probably the biggest impact out of the three. And I'm excited to see what this rookie Milton Williams is going to do because they keep on talking about him so much.
I want to see another player. I want to see Zach McPhilster because they're saying like the last 4 practices, like he's really stepping up. Like he could get some burn. Like you get what I'm saying?
You know what else is kind of weird that I'm going to say this? I want to make sure our punter's good.
Yeah, he's a rugby dude, right? Australian rugby dude.
Hell if I know. He might play tennis. I don't know. I don't know who the guy is.
Australian, you know. Oh, real quick. So people ain't thinking like, oh, here go AJ with defending this quarterback. Just to let y'all know, Joe Flacco went against the ones too and struggled as well. And what I mean is struggled like with the long ball, like because the corners were so pressed on the receivers and stuff like that. He had no place to go. So all the quarterbacks struggled against this defense. Even even the offseason OTA training camp, Tom Brady, what's his name we got from San Fran, he's been struggling too. So
I'll just describe him again. What's his name? Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
I've never heard Nick Mullins and Tom Brady be the same sentence.
Well, supposedly he's like the Tom Brady, Dan Marino, John Elway of training camp.
You know there is one guy that would not have struggled against that defense. The one quarterback.
Colin Kaepernick. Sorry.
You just made this not fun. See, like,
sorry.
It was a good run, y'all. Sorry we got canceled.
Right.
I was going to say Nate Sudfeld because he's unstoppable.
Woo! Yeah, Nate Sudfeld.
Or maybe that's only against the Cowboys.
He had the best deep ball.
So, quick around the league. Did you get a chance to watch any highlights or anything from the Hall of Fame game? I know.
I watched the first quarter, or some of the first quarter, and then the rest of it I watched the highlight. Let me tell you something. I get it. It's the Hall of Fame game. They normally are, but from like mid-second quarter, that game was freaking sloppy. Like sloppy.
There was only one person that looked like he actually was playing. That was the Steelers quarterback, Joshua Dobbs. Now, he's the only one that looked like he was actually trying to do something.
Well, he's not the one that started, right?
No.
Oh,
Mason Rudolph started.
Yeah, he looked horrible. Yeah. Horrible.
I mean, not saying I'm saying they should do something because, by all means, what the hell is the Cowboys doing with the backup QBs? Like, these dudes all look like they should be working at Wegmans or Food Lion. Like, I'm just like, what is going on here? Like,
the
Bears got Nick Foles as the third stringer. You guys are trotted out people that like I know Kurt Warner was bagging groceries, but you can't be looking for people in the supermarket to be your quarterback.
Bruh, listen. And the scary thing is that now Dak has a shoulder injury.
Right. That's and Big Ben, I don't think he's going to play at all the whole preseason.
Nah.
Is there, with this first slate of preseason games that are going to be happening this week, beyond the Eagles, is there any team or any player or anything that you're looking just to see?
As long as they play the start, I want to see everybody. I ain't going to front. Like, I want to see at least 2 series from every starter from every team. Like, I ain't trying to sound corny, but I mean, maybe like I told you before, I had like this weird thing with the Browns, but I still I want to see a lot of these things. I just want to see everybody. To be honest with you,
I know it's not going to happen. And one thing I was looking forward to was I know I mentioned not the Eagles, but just to come back to that, a Davion Taylor or Alex Singleton just end up almost like in that one-on-one drill with Najee Harris from the Steelers, the running back that they drafted, to just see who wins. I just want to see somebody. I just want to see a linebacker make a real decent tackle and get somebody with a head of steam. It would just make me feel a lot better.
Let's hope it's not like a Trent Richardson against a Kurt Coleman situation.
Right. Well, Trent Richardson went to Alabama too. That's my thing. We just don't think that happened with Kurt Coleman, and then he became a Pro Bowler for another team. So go figure. But
he had talent with us. Never mind. But gotta love Billy Davis.
I kind of want to see it. And I don't know why I want to follow this dude. I know why I want to follow the team a little bit, just because of my college ties to the coach. But kind of want to see what goes on in Carolina with Sam Darnold and Christian McCaffrey.
I'm more looking with Sam Darnold. I just want to see what's going on with Sam Darnold. He got to do something, man, for me to redeem myself. I still owe you that 12-pack.
For people that don't know, not this past season, but the season before,
2019,
we had a bet about.
What year did he get mono?
That was 2019.
Oh, was it?
So it was Sam Darnold against the Josh Allen, and I said Josh Allen would be a better quarterback that year than Sam Darnold. And AJ, we decided to bet a case of beer on it. And at that time, I think the Jets were up maybe 17-0, and the Bills came back to win right after that bet. And then Josh Allen had that season where they went to the playoffs, and they lost.
And Darnold got mono and missed half the damn season. It wasn't right afterwards.
Oh man. So all right, let's do 5-pack of questions.
All right.
So the one athlete that, without a doubt, that's currently playing, so not in the past, them by themselves are worth the price of admission.
Ooh. Lamar.
I can see that. I'd probably go Mahomes.
Yeah, Mahomes too.
Yeah, I'm sticking with football. Now, beyond that, to me, and it's not because of the whole rumors with the Sixers and all that, but even playing with Portland and all that, seeing Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I mean, even at home cooking, man. I mean, Joel's worth the price.
Joel is definitely worth the price of admission too. Yes.
Yeah. Joel.
But now, all time, who would be worth the price of admission? If you choose anybody.
Muhammad Ali.
Ooh, that's a good one. See, I wasn't thinking outside the realm of that, because Ali was before my time. So I'm thinking, before your time,
Yeah, before my time, yeah.
But Ali, I don't know if you're going to top Ali. Ali's a good one. I was thinking vintage Mike Vick.
That was that Mike Vick experience. Vintage Randall. I saw vintage Randall.
Yeah. Vintage Randall too.
God.
But yeah,
early Mike Tyson.
Early Mike Tyson. Yeah.
Early Jordan.
The difference is Ali, you actually gonna get 6-7 rounds. Mike Tyson was like a
I remember
like a high cost escort. You're paying about $300 for about 30 seconds.
Ask Mikey from Mayfair. Grandpa paid. Mikey from Mayfair was staying. We were staying at grandma's for the summer or whatever. And he went and he on pay-per-view spent $50, which was crazy for a pay-per-view back then. For Tyson Spinks. Actually, 91 seconds. Grandpa looked sick. Grandpa worked 3 jobs. They worked 3 jobs, and he, what I mean? He put up $50. Grandpa looked sick.
Oh man. So I know you're not a big fan of the sport now. I'm not saying you hate the sport, but you're not a big fan of it. But favorite baseball player of all time?
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
I had to go Smitty.
Mike Schmidt?
Yeah, I had to go Smitty.
Surprised. I would have bet money you'd been Ricky Henderson.
No.
You weren't a Ricky Henderson fan?
I was. I was a big fan of that Oakland A's team,
Right.
Eckersley.
Well, I would think because Ricky had the swag and all that, and
Yeah, we know why you said Ricky Henderson.
No.
Because he had a Jerry curl. No.
You never had a Jerry curl?
No, I didn't. Never even close. My favorite players of all any sport, as far as like team sports, let me rephrase that. Team sports have always originated from Philadelphia. So,
I mean, my favorite baseball player from Philly was Ryan Howard. Believe it or not, I really like Jimmy Rollins too. But as far as Ryan Howard and what he was able to do in just a short period of time, outside of Philly though, might be Griffey, man.
Outside of Philly, it might be Griffey.
Griffey, I love some Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, Griffey was that dude, yo. Baseball wise, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking baseball. Now, it's August, right? With that being said, there's a lot of little things going on. Obviously, you got baseballs in the heat of starting that whole playoff chase. Football's about to start, but preseason really don't mean much. Same thing, kind of like hockey and basketball.
Right.
So with that being said, any chance that you would watch, or I should say, what out of the four major teams do you think has the worst preseason?
In Philadelphia?
No, in general. Like out of the four major sports teams, what has the worst kind of preseason or,
Hockey.
I don't think it's hockey only because hockey will have preseason games like in Prague and like in France and stuff. Whereas like, summer camp in Vegas, the basketball summer league, just all right, let me change this.
Listen, all hockey, baseball, and basketball, all their preseasons fucking suck and are boring.
I mean, if you watch football after the first 5 minutes, it's pretty boring too, because most of those dudes ain't gonna make the squad.
No, I love it, man, because there's every year, every team has a diamond in the rough that pops out. Whether they transition, but they look great, like it's just, I don't know. It's just, I mean, seeing the hunger of a young guy trying to make it is just different.
I can say for me, like, now for me, I will say, believe it or not, football and baseball spring training for me is up there, but it's not because of the playing. It's just because, oh my God, it's so freaking cold, and it's a sign that spring's on the way. But I will say both hockey and basketball preseason is boring as hell. With that being said, what do you think is the most overhyped sporting event or sporting experience?
The Olympics.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, I used to love the Olympics. I don't know what happened. I could care less about the Olympics this year at all. And I don't mean rude. I'm not trying to be unpatriotic. I just don't care. Like, the best basketball team won the championship. They won the gold medal. So what?
Yay.
You know what I got out of that?
Growing up, I can tell you the divers. I can tell you the swimmers. I can tell you some Olympic. I can tell you the track dudes. I can't name one person that.
Don't get me wrong. Like, listen, like, I know there's been a big thing about Simone Biles with the mental health thing, and what Simone Biles did and over the Olympics and stuff, just how dominant she's been. Like, or Michael Phelps when he was swimming, or like, yeah, cool. He was that dominant. Wow, when we think about that for a second,
yeah,
but like, the most entertaining thing I saw this Olympics was watching people play ping pong. Think about that for a second. That was, and that's no. I mean, I respect the athletes. I respect,
Yeah, I respect that grind.
Felix and the fact that she has more medals than Carl Lewis now in track and all that. I just
who?
I forget her first name, but Felix. I would say Alexandra Felix, but she has more. She has more medals now than anybody in American track history.
Wow.
But right, like, and here's the whole thing. Once again, it's going to sound like I'm being disrespectful, but I also could have said, like, yo, did you hear our uncle owns a Burger King? You had the same reaction. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Like I can't imagine. They used to make video games about the Olympics. They used to make documentaries about the Olympics. And I feel like no one cares about the Olympics anymore.
It's like the Wheaties back. It was just fun, man. Like I remember growing up, like you watched the Olympic qualifiers because like they would have. Remember, I don't know. Oh, you might be too young to remember Dave versus Dave, and they had like this ad campaign. It was like these two guys. They were decathletes. It was Dave versus Dave Johnson and Dave something else, and one of them didn't even qualify, and then the other one didn't even get to go. But it was like this big campaign. But that's what I'm saying. Like the campaigns for it, like was.
I remember
it was, oh yeah, you wouldn't remember because I think that was the Seoul Olympics in '88.
I remember like the big thing, like with the track stars. I think it was like Maurice Johnson, and there's a track star from like Canada. Ended up with the doping.
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson. I think it was Ben Johnson. Maurice something. I thought it was Maurice Johnson. Maybe it was Maurice Green or.
Oh no, but I know.
Like in the '96 Olympics, like yeah.
Oh no! The doping one was Ben Johnson versus Carl Lewis, and they stripped him. He was from Canada. That was the '88 Olympics.
There was a thing. Maurice Green, who was a sprinter, and like the '96 Olympics was going up against.
Oh wow!
And they had a big campaign against that. The Redeem team after the basketball team, I don't even think like that they got bronze with AI and all that. Like, okay, I was interested in that. Like the 2012 Olympics with soccer, because the men's soccer team is actually doing okay. Men's soccer team didn't even qualify for the Olympics. And the women's soccer team was so dominant. Like 2012 was the last time I was really into the Olympics.
Shit.
And when I say into it, I mean because you had Phelps with the swimming. That was the breakout stuff with the kind of the gymnastic stuff.
Yeah.
You had the basketball team was trying to redeem themselves. You had the women's soccer team, the men's soccer team. Like it just seemed dope.
Yeah, I wasn't into it like that, but I watched it. I kind of, like you said, I knew who was.
You knew who was doing it. You might see some highlights or something. Like I wasn't like sitting there going, "Oh, I gotta,"
Like I remember, like, and it was even like the Winter Olympics. Like you knew, like yo, you would sit. Oh my god, like oh man, it was just. I don't know. It's just times, man.
The last time like Olympic events. When I say that, more than Michael Phelps going for the world record for most medals. I mean, I actually did make sure that I was around for like 9:30 when that meet happened.
Yeah.
But the last time it was like, yo, I gotta watch this was. I want to say it wasn't the first time. I've been the second Winter Olympics where NHL players were allowed to play, and USA versus Canada, and that was like we're talking like 2010, 2008. Like where it was like, yo, like because they were playing like at lunchtime. So you'd be like, yo, I gotta watch the USA versus Sweden game. Like,
so I think '96 was the last year that they did it to where it was both. I could be wrong because the Olympics used to be the winter and then it went to the summer. They was in the same year. So I think '96 was the last year they did that. And that was the last time I really was like, yo, the Olympics is on. What's happening? Let me sit down and sit there in front of a TV and watch the Olympics for hours.
Right. Like it's crazy. Final question. So we're getting that round of time that, maybe not so much for you, but especially for a lot of parents, especially after what they dealt with last year, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Back to school. Kids get the hell out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
What was the one thing when you were a kid that you look forward to back to school about? more than anything else?
That first week, coming cool with the fresh outfits.
Everybody showed up what they got. Yeah,
bro, that first week, that was the only time all year that my shit was organized. Like drawers, socks, everything. You know what I mean? Yeah, the outfits, that first week of school outfits, that fresh, yeah.
It's interesting because after like freshman year of high school, seeing like high school friends and stuff back, at least, this was 99, 2000, I was in football training camp. So by the time first day of school hit, I saw half my friends already. You know what I mean? From high school.
Well,
We were training camp for a few weeks.
Same thing with high school, like with camp. But I had in high school, my best friend down here in high school was another guy named Mike. He didn't play football, but we played basketball all summer, and we worked together at like this at our job all summer. So it was like you said, and then my other buddies who plays football, like you said, and then half of them play basketball too. So it was like we saw each other all summer, all year. So
yeah, I feel like middle school was the last time where you go back to school and see people who you really wanted to hang out with that you hadn't seen in a while. Especially middle school too, everybody's going through those changes. So you would go back. I remember from 6th to 7th grade, I went from like 4'3" to like 5'6" and went from size 6 to size 12. So I came back to school. People were like, "Who are you?" Like,
yeah.
It's like, they ain't gonna try to pick on me no more, huh?
But I went to high school down here. But I went, like you said, middle school and elementary school up in Philly, and the crazy thing was because the dudes I didn't go to school with the dudes in the neighborhood. I got bused up Northeast. So, like, it was kind of like that. And then it was kind of like, I hate to say it, but like, yo, I got, like, you got a little stronger, bigger, whatever. And you're just like, yo, I didn't like this dude, so we come back to school and punch him in his mouth. Like, it just was like, yo, they ain't gonna mess with me this year, I'll fight.
But you know what, though? Like,
but yeah, the gear was the
yeah, and be able to show off.
And what girls, and especially in middle school, what girls got boobs? Yeah.
That's so funny. So on that note, that's our show. As AJ put it, that Run Booby Run shirt that Six Ariani was wearing in middle school was not about Miles Sanders.
No. Hashtag lick it, dick it.
Oh, jeez. Looking forward to Thursday, man. Looking forward to seeing these guys actually in the game. Good, bad, or indifferent. As long as nobody gets hurt, I think I'm going to be happy about it. Anything else you want to add in?
No, I'm just like you said, Thursday night. And everybody get away from the Ben Franklin. It's not that deep. It's practice. And like I said, I'm not saying this is a mulligan team, but this is that year where you got to see what you have, because we never had going into the following season. First of all, I can't remember an Eagles team that had so much youth. You get what I'm saying? So much youth. Even like you referred this team to the 2016 team, but you still had some guys. There was guys on that. There was youth on that team, but there was guys on it. You like, yeah, he ain't gonna be. You know what I mean? He not kicking. Right. But there's so many questions. The youth guys, you see so much potential in some of these young guys that it's like, yo, if you got to see what you have, and then you going into the next year. In 2017, we didn't have this many draft picks, and you know what I mean, and this many this much free agency money. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, listen. As the week goes on, don't forget, like, subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to get those notifications for our podcast. And check out our Facebook page as we put stuff up. Definitely going to be putting up stuff as, kind of rapid reaction to the Thursday night game. And of course, we're going to have our weekly show. So listen, always appreciate you listening, you watching, you paying attention. And hey, Beyond the Birds, can't believe that the Phillies are actually, 2 games first place. It's the latest they've been in first place as far as being 5 games over 500, I think, in like 12 years. That's how bad.
Yeah. Well, they were in first place last year going into August.
They were. I don't know if they were in first place going into August, but if they weren't 5 games over 500.
No, they weren't 5 games over 500.
That's what I'm saying. Like, as far as with the record and stuff too, they actually have the same record as the 1980 World Series team at this time.
Well, I'm not going to. All right, we're going to switch roles because normally I'm the glass half full guy, but I'm going to be glass half empty. I'm glad they are over that, but let's be real. If they were in any other division of baseball, we wouldn't even talk about this.
I mean, they're 3 games back from the wild card. So if they were in the Central, they'd be 4 games back. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned the 80 team. There's no Pete Rose or Mike Schmidt on this team. And so, I'm not saying that they're going to win the World Series or they're going to be competitors. All I'm saying is that it's been a decade since we had a playoff game, and it was nice to see, granted, there was the game with Roy Halladay, they were honoring him. It was nice to see a full stadium and actually feel. It was nice, to be honest, I'm going to say it like this. It was nice, just like it was with the Sixers for a little bit. It was nice just to feel electricity in the air at an outdoor stadium. Yeah, I thought I wasn't going to feel that until the Eagles played. Yeah, so it was nice to feel it through the TV. And I think
it's cool. It's cool. Listen, man, I'm happy they're playoffs. I mean, they're 2 different sports, so it's not like, oh, you don't want them to make the playoffs because of draft pick. It's 2 different. It's totally different. No, it's totally different. You have an opportunity to make the sport. You have an opportunity to make the playoffs in baseball. You do it. Like, you get what I'm saying. So
right, and I mean, here's the bottom line. Like, the Phillies, believe it or not, are actually a pretty young team as well, with the exception of their main stars. Their main stars are a little older. But once again, one team making a playoff push is good for the other team because it forces the other team to kind of want to do a little more too.
Yeah, it is a little bit. Real quick, I've heard this reference. Oh, look at the Phillies; they weren't expected to. No, the Phillies aren't in a rebuilding thing. They were built to win now. So this is expected. So actually, them only being 5 games above 500 in August is actually a disappointment, in my opinion, because you have the 3rd highest payroll in baseball and you're only 5 games above 500 and you're only a game up in one of the historically worst divisions in baseball history.
They're not one of the historically worst divisions of baseball history, but the whole division has underperformed.
That division is horrible. Horrible.
I mean, 4 out of 5 teams go above 500. The 4 to 5 teams are above 500.
It's just that division chance. The Mets are cooked. They're not going to finish above 500.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of teams are dealing with injuries, including the Phillies. I mean, the Phillies only had 2 starters for most of the 2 out of 5 starters. The other 3 were actually starters.
I hear you, but let's be real. This team was built to win now. And once again, to only be 5 games above 500, to me, is mediocre.
But it's baseball. 5 games above 500 actually is pretty
You have the 3rd highest payroll in baseball.
And half your players were hurt. Like, what you want to do about that?
It's an excuse. To me, nah, I ain't trying to hear that. Okay. I'm happy that they're winning. I'm just saying, what was the reason last year? They had the 3rd highest payroll in baseball last year.
They did the year before that. Payroll. Like, listen, the Phillies, here's my whole thing, man. My only thing about this was just enjoy the moment. That's all. Because I'm not going to sit there, because I can sit there and do that. Well, you know what? The Eagles are trash because it's all about winning the Super Bowl. If you don't win the Super Bowl, then fuck that. What was the point of firing Doug Peterson?
And that's a very stupid and uneducated.
But that's my thing. Like, my thing is this. The Phillies were expected to actually finish 4th this year. 4th in their division.
Crazy.
Because of all the stuff the Mets did, all the stuff the Braves did. And I feel you. Like, they do have they have a high payroll, but the weird thing with the payroll
but they're baseball, built to win now. The Eagles are not built to win now.
Oh, no. It's
not Philly, and not just you. I'm just saying overall, because I've heard this from a lot of stuff coming out of Philly, is that they're trying to compare the Eagles, saying, hey, if the Phillies could do it, why not the Eagles? Because the Eagles are rebuilding.
Yeah, no. The Eagles don't have a Bryce Harper. They don't have a JT Realmuto. Bryce Harper was supposed to be a generational player, and sometimes he does play. Bryce Harper is making a push to be MVP. It's late.
Yes, he is.
He's making a push.
Yes.
JT Realmuto is the best catcher in the league. And when you have two players like that, not to mention a second baseman who was batted above 300 and some of these other, like, yes, you are correct. Yes. This team should be a top 10 team in the MLB.
Mm-hmm. And they're built, and like I said,
they're built to. They're not supposed to be rebuilding. You are correct.
Yes.
So compared to the Eagles, no, that you don't compare it to the Eagles. The Eagles can have a wildly successful season, winning 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, comparing them to the Phillies to the Eagles, I'm not trying to do that at all. All I'm saying is that it's just nice. It would be nice to be excited about something beyond just an Eagles game is happening on Sunday come mid-September.
You're right. That is true.
And that's my big thing. Like, I'm not saying
I feel you on that.
And I've heard a lot of like negative stuff about the Phillies and stuff too. Well, they won 8 games, but they won against the Mets who are cooked and the Nationals who are cooked. And all. I'm not saying all that. All I'm just saying is that it's literally been a decade since on August 8th, August 9th, August 10th, the Phillies were relevant.
Yeah.
A decade.
Listen, no, and I feel you. Last year they were numerically in it, but we knew they weren't out of it.
The Eagles were numerically ended in December.
Yeah, we knew it was over. Right. But no, I feel you where you're like, yo, these cats actually have a legitimate chance to.
And like if you actually like baseball, like it's enjoyable to watch. I can tell you, I love baseball. I do. Phillies have not been enjoyable to watch for almost a decade. And I try. I try. It's not like football, even when the Eagles are bad. I'll give you a prime example. Imagine that Eagles-Cowboys game in Philly where Carson Wentz looked god awful. Remember that game? The Ben DiNucci game? Mm-hmm. Imagine 162 days of that. That's the Phillies baseball for 10 years. Like,
I know.
And really, like Carson Wentz, he was like, what the fuck are these guys doing? They're getting paid all this money. So to actually see these dudes come up clutch and actually see these dudes play up to their potential, and like it's just nice.
I just honestly, a part of me is as you always say, it's the Negadelphia in me when it comes to the Phillies. I've seen us last year, August 1st, we were in first place of the division. And we struggled. And then we got into September. They had a 9-game thing. They won the first game. All they had to do was win one more game.
And they did it. Right.
And Aaron Nola, you get what I'm saying? And every time we're on this edge, it seems like Aaron Nola comes up small. You know
here's the thing. We're not dependent on Nola this year. But, like, that's not
I know.
Like,
no. I agree with you. I'm saying why I'm kind of being negative, Nelly, is just because I'm just waiting for that other shoe to drop.
Right. And I'm just taking it just one day at a time. Like, look, they got to play the Dodgers and Padres, right? They've won 8 straight. They might lose their next 6 in a row. They might.
Right.
And you know what? Yeah. By the next time we shoot this show, if they lose 6 straight, I'm like, But I'm literally going to be like, it was a fun ride. It's not the Sixers who, at this point, if you don't win a championship or at least make it to the NBA Finals, I don't want to hear nothing of you. I don't want to hear that song. I don't want to hear that. If someone's name Julius, get the hell out of my face. Like, I'm just, like, I don't want it, nothing. I don't want to hear anything about I want to hear literally zero about the Sixers until Ben Simmons is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited.
Or, like you said, or until they're in the finals.
Or until the finals, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The Flyers are the same type of boat as the Eagles in the sense of they're rebuilding. The only difference was the Flyers were way ahead of what they were expected to be. And it was a mirage. You know what I mean? Now they're right where the Eagles are because they got rid of a lot of their veteran people. They still got 1 or 2 people that are hold-ons, but they're really doing a youth movement,
Right.
And that's where I'm like, all right, Flyers might not make the playoffs or might be the 8th seed, but as long as you see progress, you're cool. The Eagles, same thing. As long as you see progress, you're cool. And that's where I agree with you. The Phillies, the Phillies make the wild card. Well, they're supposed to. Like, Even
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah,
so just like you said, you don't want to hear the song. I don't want to hear ring that bell until they a wild card or they're until they're in the playoffs.
Sure. And that's the thing. Like, listen, and that's rightfully so, because once again, it's not like the team, for the most part, it's not like the team hasn't tried or ownership hasn't tried. The team has underperformed for a decade. And I think what's exciting to me watching baseball, though, is that it's not, Bryce Harper is doing well, but it's not Bryce. It's cats that no one's ever heard of that are stepping up. Or like a guy like Brad Miller. Brad Miller has 12 home runs and it is playing lights out. Who the fuck is Brad Miller? Like, and that's the thing, like those dudes. Or Ranger Suarez was our closer, and now he's our starter. And we picked up this guy, Ian Kennedy, who was a starter. He's now a closer at 40 years old, who is pumping his fit. Like, you've seen a bunch of misfits that are really stepping up. You know what I mean? And that's where it's not. Once again, like I said, I'm not even expecting to make the playoffs. I'm just enjoying the ride box here. And it's just like, I'm just glad that there's something to look forward to in August beyond the Eagles right now, especially after with the Sixers. You know what I mean?
Hopefully that's some of that positivity can rub off on me towards the Phillies.
But I don't blame you if you like, I don't want to watch the Phillies until they clinch. I can't be mad at that. I understand.
Yeah.
You know,
and I'm the same way. I mean, I'm listen. My ears to the streets on them. You get what I'm saying? But
right. Because you like, there's some rumblings. I'll check that out a little later. I heard it's a nice party that just started. It's like 8:00. But come mid-September, if the magic number's at 2 and they got 8 to play. All right, right. And then if they clinch, all right, let me go. There's nothing wrong with that, And that's like what people are like, well, even if they do clinch, they're going to get swept. I don't care. If they clinch and they get swept, I don't care.
This is just playoff baseball, just some October baseball.
Think about it. So, and this is something that I'll bring up. Last time the Phillies in the playoffs were 2011? Mm-hmm. How old do you feel you have to be for you to actually have a vivid sports memory?
It all depends. I don't know. 7.
7 years old. Okay, we'll go with 7. Which means your son probably never remembered the Phillies being in the playoffs at 17. Or maybe vaguely remember. Like, there are people who are in high school, or depending on if you were 8 or 9 for you to really remember something, even in college, that don't even remember the Phillies ever making the playoffs.
He remembers me being excited for that 2011 team.
But I mean, like, but you see what I'm saying though? Like, it's just
I feel you. I feel you.
Like your son has no idea what a playoff atmosphere for baseball is. Like that's non-existent.
Yeah.
I mean, I say he would like baseball, but I'm just saying, like, know how it feels in any sport if there's a playoff game, right? You know what I'm saying? You might not like hockey, but if you were turn on a playoff hockey game and you hear the crowd,
the atmosphere is just totally different.
But even like with baseball, when you turn on a playoff baseball game and you hear especially a town like Philly, you're like, you might sit there and be like, why are they excited over this dumb game? But you hear the excitement.
like with baseball with me, I can watch a game here and there. Like, I can't just watch a random game on a regular Tuesday afternoon at like 12:00 on TV. I'm just not going to fucking do it.
Not on TV. I can go to a random Tuesday game.
I can go to a regular game. Yes, I can go to a game. Yes.
And I will say, I'm one of those people weekdays at 7:30, 8:00 at night. I'll actually watch a game. But that's me.
Right. But I'm not going to watch other teams during the regular season either. Now, I listen to it. You get what I'm saying? Like, I keep up with it. But, if there's a game 7, I don't care. Cardinals, Dodgers, NLDS. There's a good chance AJ's ass is going to be me. I'm going to be in front of that TV watching that shit. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you said, it's playoff based atmosphere. It's just
on the flip side, next Tuesday, you might be watching highlights from Dolphins Cardinals preseason.
And I'll watch that shit. I will break down. I will break that. Listen, man. Listen, football.
It's just football. It is what it is.
Football is my guilty pleasure, yo. Like I'm almost like borderline sick, obsessed with it. Like
and not only will you watch it, but be like, yo, this fifth string running back from the Cardinals, if we get an injury, you might pick.
No, he might be all right.
But yeah, man, it's I mean, that's just my one thing, man. I feel like we have had a lot of expectations for our teams, and there's been a lot of failure as far as what we expected out of the Sixers, what we expected out of Carson Wentz, what we have expected out of the Phillies and Bryce Harper, and what we expected out of the Flyers after that jump start and the disappointment. So, like, just to have something good happening at the moment, it's just like,
it's I haven't lived in Philadelphia since 2000. I left in 2000. I'm only 45 minutes away, but it's the Philadelphia fan in all of us. You get what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about the Philadelphia fan that grew up in Hawaii and they just like the Eagles or somebody. It's still in me, just like it's in you. You're local. You know what I'm saying? You're there. But I eat prime example, and I know we're trying to cut the show, but Eagles at the end of the season. Man, we're going to win one game next year, 2 games. Nick Sirianni, he's going to be fired by the end of next season. Yo, we 4 days away from the first preseason game. You got catcher. We going to win 12 games.
Right.
It's it's as it get close, and that's any sport. The Sixers. And then right before the season starts, we're a champ. It's every sport.
I think my friend who's actually a Mets fan said it best. He said he's a Mets and Giants fan, but he's from New York.
Who's that?
Huh?
Who's that?
Oh no, this is my buddy Rich. You never met him. We play softball together.
I think you said our friend, and I was
no. I said my friend. Yeah.
Sorry.
So, but he's from New York, and he said he was driving and listening to, like Eagles preseason. They were talking. They had one guy call out. I think the Eagles were going to go 13-3, and he was like, and it was one of those years. It was the he was talking about when he was driving. He was like, it was like the Kevin Cobb year. So they weren't expected to go 13-3. It was like a reboot for Andy. You know what I mean? Oh, they're going to go 13-3. He said, then the next caller called up. Man, I see them going 15-1. He said, the next caller called up. Yo, those guys are idiots. They're not Eagles fans. How dare you think they're going to lose a game this year? And he's like, that's just Eagles fandom. But
right.
And then as soon as after the first game, whether win or lose, there's half the fan base is going to rip them. And half the you might, that's why like Andy Reid came out, enjoy the win. We'll enjoy the win, but we got to ask about that 3rd and 6th play. Like,
why didn't you call? Look, they're still mad about the timeout he didn't call 3 weeks prior. Why didn't you?
They're still mad about the timeout he ain't called 15 years ago. What do you mean 3 weeks? But yeah, here's the thing about it. I try to explain about Eagles fandom or Philly fandom because there are people who are fans of sports and all that.
Hearts, man. We're our hearts
Philly,
on
I feel like if you're
teams.
What's that?
So we put our hearts on our sleeves when it comes to our team, and that's what we're so.
When you have to explain to somebody on a Tuesday morning that you're in a bad mood because the Eagles lost on Sunday, or even worse, the Eagles won, but they only won by 3 against a team they should have blown out. That's more like it. Why are you? I just don't want to talk about it. Well, is this something happened with your wife or is everything cool with your family? It's just Jalen Hurts looked awful on Sunday.
I'll worry about everybody mad from Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, whatever, all the way till Wednesday. And then all of a sudden it's like, let's go Birds.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you got to understand the city literally you'll literally like get into an argument over a parking space and then be like, yo, man, fuck you, man. Go Birds. Like it's like go Birds becomes a greeting. But all right,
there's people real quick, there's like you said, there's just people that see my tattoo and they just go Birds. I was in Ohio. Got to go Birds.
I was in London. Go Birds.
Right.
And I mean, and that's the one thing too that's cool about the Eagles in general. If you wear anything Philadelphia Eagles, no matter where you are in the world, I've had a chance to travel a little more. Obviously not recently, but like I've been in Florida, I've been in Atlanta, I've been in Cali. I've been in Cali where I was wearing my Eagles hat at a bar watching the Golden State Toronto Raptors NBA Finals. And bartender came up to me, yo, this beer's on the house. Okay. Yeah, for that dude over there. And I looked over, someone else was wearing an Eagles shirt. Go Birds. Like, it's just a fraternity, man. Like, It's so cool. Mm-hmm. So, that's the one thing of all the negativity and stuff we talk about with sports. It really does bring people together, and that's what's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And on that note, though, just remember AJ said, yo, fuck the Phillies. They should be where they at.
Yep.
We'll get excited.
But in October, I'll be excited.
Get excited in November after they win the World Series. Then get excited.
No. I'll get excited for some Red October.
No,
like a little.
But that's the thing.
I miss it. I miss Red October. Man.
More than you realize, man. You know what I miss more than anything? I miss the idea of the Eagles playing Sunday at 1 and the Phillies playing Sunday at 7. And it meaning something for both.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I miss. More than anything else, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was something about we were having a sports weekend. You're wearing the Elkton stuff with your son playing, and then us watching Temple, and then watching the Eagles opening day.
Home opener, yeah.
But I'm not saying we'd go, but it'd be sweet if at 7:00 that night the Phillies were playing a meaningful game to try to clinch in mid-September. It would be nice.
That would be.
That's all. We won't be listening to it because we listening to the recap of the fifth quarter. You know what I mean? But still,
we'll be recording live from fucking Lincoln Financial Field parking lot.
Right. Well, I imagine we're going to do a couple. We're going to do a couple live broadcasts or Facebook lives or what have you. One being
we're going to have to do that day because we're going to be recording on Sundays and we're going to be at the game that Sunday. So.
Yeah, and then for the open practice as well, which we'll be at in a couple of weeks. So, But all right, y'all, have a good week. I know we went a little long-winded on there.
I started
getting real defensive about Bryce Harper for some odd reason, but
right. Just got Sheik doing the extra editing now.
Listen, man. Last week, that shit was 2 hours. I was mad. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later, man. Stay safe. See you next week.
Peace.